I had the crazy scene hair, and I would hide it underneath there until it started to get obviously like closer to an inch. I'd say it was like you can't hide that, you know. But at first, I did hide it. Yeah, coming home from school, like, all right, mom, what's up? You know, straight to my bedroom. You know, like, yeah, that's flashing me back to like just moments of like, what the fuck's that in your ear? Oh, it's nothing. You know, like shit like that. Like
It's
I did hide
nothing.
it. Yeah.
Welcome to the Brutality podcast. My name is Dom, and I just have a few things to shout out before diving into today's episode. First, I wanted to mention that we have a Discord server. If you want to stay up to date with everything podcast related, that is the place to be. But also, if you want to be a part of a community of like-minded people who are looking to just talk about and discover deathcore, whether that be old or new, all that happens over in the Discord server. Also, if you want to help support the show, we now have a Patreon. Some of the perks include early access to episodes, your name in the credits, being the first to know about our upcoming guests, member-only channels in our Discord, and so much more. All of that on Patreon. Also, we have some merch. We have 2 t-shirt designs that we are very excited about. You can go and find those over at indiemerchstore.com. And last but not least, we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, if you want to see the unfiltered, unedited versions of these episodes, that is where we do it. So links to all of that down in the description wherever you are watching or listening. That's all I have to plug. Thank you for listening and enjoy this episode. Mikey, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Hello. What's going on, guys?
What's up? It's so cool to like last time we chat, dude. It's been almost 2 years. Last time we were in a video chat like that. It's insane.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. Yeah, you posted in your story today, mentioned that, and I was like, holy crap, that was 2 years ago. And I was talking like, yeah, I got a single to drop or whatever, and 2 years later. Shit.
Insane, man. It's crazy. Like I was saying before the not to jump in, but like before the interview, I was just like, it's insane because when I reached out to you, I had nothing to show. I was just like, hey, I want to I want to tell your story or whatever, but I had no examples, didn't even know what I was doing, and you were just like, let's do it. So I was like, why? You know, I kind of started the whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
and it's pretty insane. In the past, I don't even, you know, like the amount of views that it got recently type thing, it just kind of blew up out of no. I was just like, what is, like, I kept seeing comments. I was like, okay, people are comment. And then I saw the views and I was like, what is exactly happening? I don't know if it's me, because sometimes Reddit discussion, like, I don't know if something triggered a discussion about
I don't
that,
know
maybe.
what it was. Something triggered something because all sorts of shit. I got like memes sent to me, all sorts of things like of our old, you know, project and stuff popping up everywhere on the internet. I'm like, why is this resurfacing? How is this happening? It's 15 years later. It's so weird.
It's insane, man. It's crazy. But to be fair, though, like, I'm always gonna remember when you guys dropped that with the picture and everything. It really, like, honestly, everybody was talking about it. I'm always gonna remember, you know, like it was kind of everywhere and just like, did you see that and stuff? And I know a lot of people were mostly mentioning, you know, like the years and everything. I know that, but there was people like me who was just like, this is actually really good. You know what I mean? Like, you guys, you know, tons of breakdowns, cool vocals and shit. I was like, how old are these? You know what I mean? I was struggling to make a freaking breakdown and I was like, you know, I had nothing to show for. And then I look at the picture and I'm like, oh shit, you know, like they're like 12 and they're killing it. So created a big reaction is what I'm saying. I'm always going to remember now.
I think it might have been the combination of my giant ears at the time and just us being 12, 13. That was it, really, you know.
Yeah, because you know, you look, to be fair, you look older than, you know, people in the back. I think what really shocked people is like in your case, it's like it's the ear, the combination of like he's young and he has like freaking 2 inches ears or whatever, and then you look in the back and honestly they look like they were like 9 and 10. I think
Yeah.
that's people were just like wearing like metal merch and people were just like it was
Yeah.
never seen, honestly, I think.
Mhm.
Got Eric with no shoes on in that picture too, just in his socks.
Yes.
I remember that none of them had like band merch shirts, and I called my buddy to take the pictures, and I'm like, everyone put on these clothes. So I just gave him all my clothes, and I was in the woods behind our house and took those pictures.
It worked, you
Yeah.
know.
I
So there
mean,
you go.
it worked as an understatement, given the reaction that specifically the photos, kind of
Yeah.
how it made you guys kind of go viral for a minute. But yeah, man, dude, so much to talk about. I want to get into like those kind of like specific moments and stuff too, because it's kind of funny because yeah, we're at this point right now where we were talking off stream. There's this revival going on right now with a bunch of people that are really heavily influenced by the deathcore sound from pre 10,000s to 2010s. I mean, and it's just like we're weirdly enough, and I think that kind of goes to show with the boom in popularity in Yan's video about you guys, and then you getting sent memes and all these things too. Like there's like also at the same time a resurgence of all these older viral moments that people had back in the day that
Yeah.
the people like us now are like looking back on those times. Oh, remember that time there was this thing that happened, the kid with the gauged like there's like these
Yeah.
things that are like creeping back up like 15 years later, which is kind of wild. And then to see, obviously we'll get into you releasing some new music even as of last week and stuff. It's cool. It's cool because I think we're seeing a lot of these full circle moments. But I think maybe to start it off, I'd want to ask you like how disconnected is it for you? Because obviously you don't look the same anymore. You've moved on from your life. It's not like that band went on to do more
Yeah.
things, right? So how is it for you, kind of seeing, obviously there's love, but at the same time, it's like, that's not really you anymore, right?
No, it's not. I had a time period where I was like, no, that isn't me. I wasn't really super into it all for a short while. But at the end of the day, I've realized like, nah, that is me. And it coming back, the revival and everything, like I could have told you that was going to happen. And I'm so stoked for it. Like I absolutely love the revival of it all. It's really, really so cool to see right now. And
But what
that's
is
obviously inspiring me to, I'm like, shit, dude, I got to get back out here and start doing some
Yeah,
stuff.
to
So
inspired to write more music and stuff in
yeah,
that vein. Yeah.
yeah,
for what it's worth, and not to jump in, but like what you did with Executioner back then was also super. I think it was even better, right? Like what you did, because I fully remember clicking on those songs and being like, because like I'm guessing Buried by the Ocean was kind of like one of your first things you made musically, right?
yeah, one of them for sure. Yeah.
As opposed to
And
Executioner with more, with more.
yeah, it Executioner started because we just getting into high school and stuff. Everybody started skateboarding, hanging out, partying, doing other things, whatever. And I still wanted to make music, and it was hard to get people together. That was always a problem. Like at that age, who's gonna drive me to band practice? Mom, you're gonna bring me this, that, shit like that. So I was like, you know what, dude? And I just like was itching to make music. So I was like, I gotta downloaded FL Studio. I was like, I gotta figure this out, So that's how that kind of came about.
Yeah, it was cool, I think, for a lot of people like me who actually, because like obviously, yeah, a lot of people were talking about appearances and like the impact that you made, but I think there's also a lot of people who actually enjoyed the freaking music on MySpace and liked it like me. So like to see, because like in my memory, you were doing quite a lot of songs with Curse. Like maybe it's just my memory, but I remember like it wasn't like, oh, I made one song with Executioner. Really was posting a lot of stuff.
There
right?
was a lot. Yeah, I had like 2 records, and when I stopped writing that style of music and branched into other shit, I still have like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 full records that I have yet to put out. And ironically, it's like I look back on it, I'm like, man, that was the good shit that I didn't put out. The shit that's out is like me just learning at like 14, 15 how to record and do all that stuff on my own. So one day I get around to putting that stuff out, but it was a lot of it. It was a lot of unreleased stuff for sure.
That's really cool, man. And by the way, you just mentioned when you were like, it would be cool, I think, to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Recently
Like,
rewrote some of them, like to do like a modern version of it. But yeah, I got to just dig through the old hard drives and just start putting some of it out. It's always my
people would
problem.
like it, you know, with the revival on top of that. But like with you personally, I think it would be awesome. I don't know for you, them, but I think it would be great to know how you started, you know, the first time maybe you seeked heavier music in your life, and just because you were, you know, fairly young, even in Buried by the Ocean. But I'm curious to know prior to that, what kind of led you there, you know?
Because I wasn't listening to deathcore at 10 years old. I'll just say that much. You know?
Nah, it was actually always like that for me. The first piece of like physical music I got was the Resident Evil movie in 2000s. They had a soundtrack, the first Resident Evil movie. It was like Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, Static X, Fear Factory, shit like that. My older brother burned that to a cassette tape, and I must have been like 4 or 5. That movie came out in like 2000, and that was the first piece of music he gave to me. And I'd walk around my little Walkman on my bicycle, listen to that shit. So like, you know, come 7, 8, 9, it was like Cradle of Filth, Slipknot. So I was always into like extreme music. That was from day one, always, you know.
That clicked kind of instantly, basically.
Yeah.
You heard your music and you're like, okay, that's
it. Yeah.
Cool. It's rare though, because honestly, we do that fairly often. And most of the time it's like, it's kind of later. It's kind of, they start, you know, a little bit heavy, and then over the years kind of leads to
you start with your Linkin Park, and then you know.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
You,
no, it was just right away. Yeah, it was just right away.
Just like 5 years old. Just
I'm like, this shit's awesome. You know, ride my bicycle, like hell yeah.
Who is your brother who gave you
my
the
older
CD?
brother? My older brother. He burned the CD because he used to, back in the day, like your stereo box or whatever had like the cassette and the CD and whatever. And I had a Walkman that my father gave me, so he burned from the CD to the cassette.
And then did he play a role in because I guess that's like one mixtape, you know, but then he did in a lot of ask for more recommendations down the line because you fucked with it, like
a lot of, when I was really, really young, a lot of the music I was introduced to was from my older brother. A lot of like early gangster rap and G Unit and things like that I got into also, you know. So
that was the era.
He's the one who showed me. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, man, honestly. But I think we need to talk about it, right? Like the first time, or maybe the inspiration for the ears, I think is something we need to talk about. Because like, honestly, you were fairly, I mean, because like what people don't know is, to get to that size, it doesn't take, like, you don't get there in like a month, you know what I mean? Like it takes time to get there. So so you started early. Like
that was pretty early too. Yeah, that, I think it's funny if it's coming back to me now. It wasn't like someone I saw that had them or anything. I was in Hot Topic, and I remember they had the jewelry cases. They had the big jewelry cases, and I just seen like these earrings, and they had like the almost like that, you know, that Nightmare Before Christmas swirl hill thing that Jack Skellington stands on. There were these earrings in the jewelry case with that swirl on them, and they looked like large. I was like, how do you put those in your ear? And I was like, I need to get them. I bought them, and I didn't know how they were going to go in my ear. And I come back another time, and they have the tapers and shit like that. So I just started buying all this shit to, you know, slowly stretch my way up to those Jack Skellington earrings that I had. And I must have been 10 or 11.
Yeah, and they were chill with selling you all that shit at 10 or 11?
Yeah, they were fine with it. You know, they're not asking, you know. So I'm like, can I get that one in the case, please? And they're like, yeah, sure, here you go, kid. You know.
Is that for you? Okay, cool, dude.
It's funny you mention that, because I feel like, you know, like if a little kid is buying things to like stretch their ears or something like that, like you would ask, I would assume.
Yeah, or like some sort of parental form or something. But maybe it's just like, I guess maybe for tattoos that would have been the thing, or if they were actually piercing your ears, that would have been a thing. Yeah, but if you're doing it yourself,
they're not the one doing it to you. Yeah, they're not like, oh, come here, kid. You know, so
Wait,
Yeah.
so did
Okay.
you
Yeah.
pierce them yourself?
No, I got them pierced. My ears pierced when I was like 6 or 7 because 50 Cent had them and I needed to have my ears pierced. I was like, yeah, I need earrings like 50 Cent. So it was a matter of just sticking them in the already existing earrings, you know?
Started with a rap influence, ended up differently over time, but pretty
It was
interesting.
both. It was, yeah, well, yeah, that did for sure. Yeah.
But it's cool though, because if I'm honest with you, like I had stretch ears, but I was stupid and ended up like, you know, when they break it half or whatever, like I kind of ruined my ears.
They
But
split. Ooh.
yeah, because like I went too fast. I was one of those crazy kids who just wanted to go too fast. So like I got
Yeah.
240, like everybody in tattoo shops and places were just like, dude, you're going too fast. You should. And me just being stupid, just like, dude, I'm gonna be fine. Like thinking I know better than people working in, you know, in 40 years doing that. So it ended up splitting. But like I think it's cool for you because it came naturally, as opposed to me, where I would say influenced by, like I saw it. You know, I saw Ricky Hoover or these people, and I was just like, I want it. In your case, it was more of just like on your own type thing. Like it's cool. I want to start that, right?
Yeah, and I discovered from stretching them like the whole world of body modification, and I was like super into that for a while. So I would like with anything I do, I would just do all my research, you know, and find a safe and right way to do it and so forth. So like I tried to do it the right way. You know, I didn't want the blowouts, this and that. I had hundreds of piercings too. You name it, I probably had it pierced. So all those I did myself too. It was sticking needles in my face at 14, like crazy. And I had like the plier things and the hollow needles and everything and gloves, keep everything sterile, and pierce my friends on the weekend. It was a big part of my life, the body modification thing for sure. Huge part of my teenage
everyone
years.
Became a passion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone's
it was
parents hated
kind of.
you.
Yeah, they did, bro. Yeah, they were like, this fucking kid. Yeah. Yep.
Oops. Yeah, it's for sure. But I think it's interesting still because like I can only imagine maybe the looks that you had, right? Like in your, I don't know, you
Oh
was
my
in your town,
God,
but
just
like
everywhere, all the time. Friends,
people trying
parents,
to
just people in
touch.
public. Oh, people trying to touch it, like used to set me over the edge. Like, fuck away from me, please. Can I put my finger through it? I'm like, no, stop.
That's so weird, right? Like I never understood that people were so comfortable because you're young, right? Like I was young too when I did it. People are just like, touch.
Yep.
Oh, what's that? And you're just like,
Please
you're
don't do
touching
that.
me. Yeah, I don't know you. You're putting your hand. So I was curious to know if that happened to you, but
It happened to me a lot. That was part of the reason why I eventually was like, dude, I'm sick of this. You know, and that's one of the biggest messages I get all the time. What happened to the ears? Where's the ears? What happened to the ears? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I just got so sick of going everywhere and fucking people saying shit to me and looking at me. I mean, it didn't bother me that much, but after years and years of it, like it didn't bother me on a deep level. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I was just like, dude, I just want to get my fucking Chick-fil-A and walk out, please. Like, you know, I just got tired of it. Just got tired of it.
Did it hurt? You know what I mean? Like all those questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Did it hurt? The biggest one. Did that hurt?
They mean well, but every single time I hear something like that, I'm like, what do you think? You know what I mean? Like there's a hole in my hair. Like you see, like it's like there's a hole big like that. Like
if you had to guess, you know, I'm older now, so like thinking of it from like this perspective, like, I guess, you know, I could see that being like, what the hell, you know? I can understand why it got the attention it did, for sure.
No, for sure. But I think it's interesting to see that for you, first of all, you did it the right way. I did it the dumbest possible way. And it's cool to hear someone who actually did it properly and add information and turn to be a passion, right? Piercing other people, stuff like that. You know, it's not something you hear all the time. Most people are just like, this is cool. I'm using it. You know what I mean? It's more of just like, oh, people are doing it. In your case, it was more just like a new world type thing, right?
Yeah, so pretty much.
It's really cool to hear that. And if we go back to MySpace, though, you know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of your first step
that was
into music.
Another place where everything kind of began through MySpace. Definitely, it inspired it all for sure.
So, do you remember how you felt? Like, maybe we could talk about like the recording of those songs
Mhm.
if you want. I'm kind of curious to know how you had 3 songs, right? Like an intro and 2 songs, if my
Yeah, an
memory is
intro and 2 songs, and there's only like 8 minute playthrough, if anything, for all of it. It was very short,
to be
very
fair,
short.
some people are doing a set with 8 minutes now in the
Yeah,
MySpace revival. So you
yeah, that's like the thing. It's like the thing. I like
could
short
have,
songs, so that's yeah, I'm down with it. But the recording,
yeah.
we always practiced at Eric the drummer's house, and I'd ride my bicycle and my skateboard over. He lived right around the corner, and we recorded the stuff on like back when you would like use your digital camera and then you put on the computer and rip the audio. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were those 3 songs we had on our MySpace at the time with the audio ripped from like a band practice video. And the recording was a local band. The guitarist did like at home stuff, and I hit him up to record those 3 songs. And it was just me, Zach, and Eric. We went over to his place. The other kid didn't record with us, and we tracked those 3 songs. And a week or 2 later, we had to do the right way for the MySpace. So I got us like a MySpace layout and everything. All my allowance I saved up or whatever. I paid some kid to make us that same logo. And that layout was kick ass. It looked awesome. So we had the layout, we had the songs professionally recorded, if you would, and just uploaded them right to MySpace, and it's kind of all history from there.
Logo was sick too. I think, to be fair, it even, I would say, played a role in it. Like, it was attention grabbing.
In those days too, yeah, your logo was like everything. When I first saw the logo he did for us, I was like, yes, that's it. We got the logo. Screw the song being out. We got the logo, dude. It was hyped. It was hyped.
And then you receive a freaking message from a band who's like, "Hey, were you type thing, right?" Like, from memory, which can happen, but usually, I'm just trying to picture at your place like how it felt. I don't know if it was like, close to when you release your stuff, or kind of after the songs being more popular, probably, that you received the message, because I think you kept Buried by the Ocean for a little while. Am I crazy?
I think it was after. Yeah, we kept it for a little while. I think it was after everything kind of took off. Then we got the messages from them. Yeah.
And that was kind of what they ended up changing their name anyways. They were like disbanding and becoming sworn in, right? And
so I recently heard that. Yeah, I recently heard that. So I'm like, yo, the fuck sworn in? What was the problem? And yeah, they messaged me a couple of times, and I'm on MySpace, talking to my friends, talking to chicks, whatever. I'm like, yo, I'm not answering these guys, whatever. Bullshit. And then they kept messaging me, and then they brought in the whole like, we're gonna get our lawyers, this and that. I was like, dude, what is this? Why? So I just like started brainstorming other band names, and then we changed it to the other one. And right after we changed it, it was pretty much over from there.
Right, because you guys didn't even end up making a logo for the new name, right?
No, actually,
you guys changed the name, and then that's it. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, it was like, you guys are happy now. We changed it, and then we stopped playing music. So, and I think the same thing happened for them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Whatever, the kids,
But they were young too, which is kind of like weird to me. Like,
yeah, it's ironic how we both were. Yeah,
right. But then also, like, what, like, 15-year-old is like, I'm gonna sue you. It's
looking
like,
back at it now,
who has fuck you money like that? Like, I don't know. It's just weird.
When I talked to Yan about this a couple of years ago, where I was, mentioning, I was like, thinking back on it, dude, like, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
What lawyer?
It would cost so much money to, like, let's think about that, right? The amount of money that it's going to take to sue someone over, with all due respect, a deathcore project. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you're not suing for Facebook here. Like, you're suing for what? Like, what's the outcome?
None of it's copyrighted in any way, shape, or form, or legitimized in any sense. So
I'm not even sure it would have even, if I'm honest, led to somewhere. I know it's kind of like, and like we're speculating, but I'm pretty sure it would have done not much. It would have been like, well, it's just, what I mean? It's
I think it's one of those, like, those when you're a kid and it's like, oh, I'll sue you, my dad will sue you kind of deals. You know what I mean? Like, think that's what it was, but whatever. We changed it. I didn't want to ultimately have any beef with anyone, so it's like whatever.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
From your point of view too, also being the age you guys were, like you just don't want to deal with something like that anyways. You don't even have the maturity to understand what that would even entail anyways, right? So you get the message, you go, okay, I guess, like whatever. Like
I don't want to get sued. Yeah.
It's less trouble just to, you know what I mean?
But it's funny you say that, because I remember I was reading somewhere one of the comments on an Instagram post. I'm like, yeah, the other buried by the ocean ended up becoming sworn in. It's like, oh no shit, get that.
I think when we made the video, we didn't even know, right? Like I think we did.
No clue. It wasn't until recently I heard that.
People
I don't know, is that even true? Is that true? I don't know.
I think, because I saw quite a few.
It is. I was digging back into some stuff, and Tyler Denton, the vocalist, was in that other band for sure. I don't know the names of the other guys, but I recognized him in the lineup and everything. So it was it was a thing. But and funny too. They're like, they lived relatively close too. They were like an Illinois band. You know, it wasn't like I don't know. It could have been a band anywhere on the planet, but they happened to be not that far out either.
Yeah.
Could have drove to court,
Yeah. Well, they ended up becoming, what they became. They were sweet. I liked a bunch of their songs back in the day. So.
Oh, quite a big impact too. We were talking about that prior to the the episode. It was pretty, when it dropped, it was during a period, if my memory is correct, it was a period of time where things kind of slowed down a bit with deathcore and everything. So when they dropped, it kind of started another
slowed
wave.
down. So people started messing with like other styles. Like there was like that edgy, like suicidal, nu metal inspired type of flavor of deathcore and shit. And that was cool when bands started like sprinkling in other shit. That was awesome. It was really fresh at the time. And now we have so many like forms of it, so many different symphonic, black end, this, that, you name it, so it was cool that they started a whole sub genre almost, if you would, Yeah. So, yeah.
Yes. Sworn in. I mean, yeah. They started something for sure. Everyone wanted to sound like Sworn In after they dropped
and they did
a couple episodes, and they did. So it's kind of funny, but definitely like kind of split off into like the beatdown bands. Deathcore bands either became like a beatdown band or that sort of new metal-esque like influenced beatdown, or those were like those were like kind of the
or death metal entirely just were out
there. That too, they went off and just started to play hardcore. A lot of old friends, and I remember when it started fizzling out a little bit, it was like lame to like deathcore, and like all those kids like, oh, it's lame, were the same kids listening to this shit last year, but they're like, oh, I'm into hardcore now or whatever, So I saw a lot of that in Jersey where I grew up. Everyone started getting into hardcore.
Just a quick second to talk about the sponsor of today's episode, Indie Merch Store. Indie Merch Store is sponsoring Carnifex's Hell Chose Me 15-year anniversary tour featuring Suffocation, Devourment, Distant, Body Box, and Monochromatic Black. Tickets and VIP are on sale now over at carnifexmetal.com. Carnifex also dropped a merch line to celebrate the 15 years of Hell Chose Me. Pick up brand new designs including tie-dye hoodies, flags, bleach wash shirts, that's a mouthful to say, regular tees, and more. In stock and shipping now over at indiemerchstore.com. Remember, you can use the code BRUTALITY at checkout to save yourselves 10% off your entire order. Helps you guys save some money, and it helps support the show. A big thank you again to Indie Merch Store for sponsoring this video. And now back to the show. Well, I was going to bring up Jersey specifically because a lot of the deathcore bands or deathcore adjacent bands in Jersey were like the super heavy, very hardcore influenced deathcore bands. You Spent Cold and and stuff like that, like Float Face Down. Yeah,
Float
so
Face,
it's like
R.I.P. Ron, dude. Yeah,
1,000%.
Yeah, dude.
And
Mhm.
like, so a lot of that scene
At
from
Rest in
there
the
was,
comments. At
yes,
Rest too,
sir.
dude. Yeah, Jimmy was the homie, dude. Yeah, all those bands too. Great dudes, man. Great dudes.
Heavy too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, to me, it makes sense because you were saying like a lot of people kind of moved on to hardcore. Like to me,
Makes
I've
sense.
always seen the Jersey scene as very
It was
heavily
always
influenced by
adjacent to
hardcore
it.
in the
Yes,
first
for
place, even if it
sure.
was deathcore. You know?
For sure. Yeah, it was very adjacent to hardcore. It would definitely be lineups where you'd have some hardcore bands playing with the deathcore bands and shit. Yeah.
It was short lived, but that specific kind of bands, like Float Face Down, I classify like Demolisher part of that. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean? And all those bands, it was pretty insane. It was kind of short lived though, wasn't it? Like it was kind of
It
just a little
was. It was
moment.
like every week I'm going to like 2, 3 shows, and it was just like the thing. Like you leave the mall, you go to a show all the time, and it was just so fast it fizzled out. It's kind of sad. It was awesome. I wish we still had like a scene like that, but
It's
new things
kind
come.
of coming back in other ways, though. I think it's fair. Like, it's kind of like we were talking about that before the podcast. A few bands are kind of bringing back that angry kind of thing, like Damage Over Time and those bands. Like, it's
Mhm.
kind of, I don't want to jinx it, but it's kind of coming back in another way.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool to see.
Hell yeah, I'm here for it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you've been you were telling me you're kind of fucking with some of the revival stuff. Are there bands you've been listening
Yeah,
to
dude.
that you really enjoy in the revival stuff?
Yeah, dude. The revival stuff, I guess, to be like specific, would be like stuff that's like it's got that raw sound. You know what I mean? The bass drops are explosive. Um, in which divides us, I think, is one of them. I've been talking with one of the dudes from Reverent, I think is the band.
Yeah.
Their shit's really cool. There's a lot. Something of Glass, Girl of Glass, something like
Girl with
that.
Glass, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Girl of Glass. Yeah, there's a lot. I fucking all of it, dude. All the shit that's coming out. Spotify recommends me something new. And I'm like, the first time I heard like a revival soundish band like that, Spotify just threw it on. I was like, yo, what's this? This had to have been from like the MySpace days. I click it. It says 2024. I'm like, what? Like the production, to nail that production and get that sound and like this time is just awesome to me. So I'm digging all those bands, man, for sure.
100% intentionally too, right?
Yeah,
Like it's just
intentionally,
you
yeah.
have to work for it now
Yeah.
to make it sound like that. It's
To make
difficult.
it sound almost bad. Yeah, like one of the
Yeah.
bands I was listening to, I think it was Reverent. Like I was in my car and the bass drop was like so over blasted. The whole mix just I was like, dude, I need to do that in one of my next songs. Like I need to purposely, clip the whole master to make it sound that way. Yeah, it's intentional. It's cool.
The nightmare of a producer too. It's
Yeah.
like at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
moment of the song, ruin the sound. They're like, well, ruin it. It's just,
Yeah. The new song I had a buddy help me out with, which I've never really done. All of my previous stuff's on my own. I kept telling him, like, you got to have the subs blast. And he's like, they're as loud as they can be. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It's fine. So, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
to kind of touch on the self-recording part of it, because you mentioned, when you started Executioner kind of going and recording yourself, you were super young back then, and then opening up Fruity Loops and
Yeah.
you're bringing
Fruity
the
Loops.
guitar into like what were you feeding your guitar through, like a pod farm or
Dude,
something
I
else?
still
Like,
have everything. This kid gave me this Epiphone and I
Okay.
dropped it to B and I still ran it through the old pod.
yes,
I've
sir.
never used it's been 15 years and I'm still refused to use anything else. So it's just been that setup since day one. Yeah, Fruity Loops, the pod, and whatever guitar I can tune low.
Was there something about getting the home recording done for the band that kind of inspired you to do some of the stuff at home? Because we are talking like pretty early days of people starting to be able to do home recordings that
Yeah.
don't sound like complete shit, right?
Yeah, I think there was a couple solo projects, and I think like during that time, like Disfiguring the Goddess was like one dude and shit.
Mhm.
And I just really wanted to write music, so I was like, I got to learn how I can make my own stuff. And there really wasn't like much information, so I just kind of started to try and figure it out.
just like wrote some shit down and tracked some stuff and
Yeah.
just played around with the knobs till something sounded
Just
cool.
just played around with it to sound cool. And the first couple batches of stuff, which I still have, sounds awful, so bad, just terrible, you know. And
Gotta start
after
somewhere.
after a year or so, I would get some mixes in that sounded pretty decent. So, you know, it's just still to this day, I don't know any like real all the scientific stuff behind audio engineering and what makes a mix or a master great. I still just do what sounds good to my ear, you know?
Well, for what it's worth, not to jump too fast, but like what you recently released sounds in my ears, like I don't sounds amazing. If I'm honest with you, it's
That
like
one's
sweet spot.
all out to my buddy Pete there. Yeah, he helped
Okay.
out with that one, which again was totally new for me to have someone help out. Was like, it's a little nervous because I didn't know how it would come out, but yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Was that weird for you a little bit? Like being
was.
used to have like full
Full
not to say you
control.
didn't have, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was you on every part, right? Every detail you could spend
Everything,
time. Now it
yeah.
was kind of,
I feel like it was cool to do that with someone else, but everything I'm going to be doing forward will definitely, because it's cool to have it sound polished and stuff, but I like that raw, just like whatever I tried to figure it out type sound, you know? So I'm going to be going right back to that, you know? I thought
Cool.
maybe the
So-
first song back after all this time, having it be polished like that would be cool, you know?
was probably a cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like every time you do something like that, even if you go back to something you were doing, it's still an experience. It's still, you know, I'm guessing
Yeah.
for you still learn through it and stuff. So it's probably, you know, it's still a good
Definitely
thing,
learned
right?
some things, yeah.
Was it kind of going back into, you know, putting out music for the first time in 13 years we're talking about, right? So how was it like, well, I guess what kind of contributed to the break, and then how different was it coming back into it with, I'm assuming obviously a different perspective, like what was different the second time
Yeah.
around? Like what's love to talk about
The-
that a little bit.
The break was because I started getting into a bunch of other types of music, and have that other project, which is Philip Disco or whatever. It's like a moniker that I made up. And I was doing that heavy. Like it was mainly indie, bedroom, emo, experimental, lo-fi stuff. And I wrote like between 400 and 500 songs under that name, and just like weirdly privately releasing it on Bandcamp. So I was always still doing something, you know, but coming back to the metal stuff it was weird because like we have all these streaming services and stuff now, and like I'm trying to figure out how to do this the right way and promote, which I've always been bad at. So I kind of just went. I was like, all right, I've had this song sitting around for the last year or so, and I met with Pete and we just polished it up, and I was like, boom, CD baby, DistroKid, whatever, put it up on Spotify. So it was weird for me. It's different now, you know?
Do you remember like I'm just curious, like I guess maybe the initial spark to try and be like, okay, let's give this another go, like writing that first riff, you know,
Yeah.
when you're trying to figure things out again, like what was that like?
It was like I didn't even take the break getting back into it, because I've always, even when I was doing the other stuff, I still loved deathcore, you know?
Mhm.
It was just like natural. You know, all these revival bands started happening, and actually me and Yan talked on that video call years ago, and I was like, I got to start doing something again. For me, it's like when I hear something so awesome, like a band or a new record or something, it inspires me to like pick it up and do something. So it must have been some band I heard a couple of years ago. I was like, dude, that's sick. I got to do this again.
It was
So,
cool to follow you too on Instagram, because sometimes you never know if you're gonna make a story that's gonna be like indie playing guitar, like just like super
Yeah.
chill, or a super gnarly breakdown with like deathcore stuff.
back and forth. Yeah, back and forth. All those story riffs just archived sitting there. Could probably make a whole record or two out of them.
Experimenting in other styles, kind of, it's a different perspective when you go back to it, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was always natural for you, but to play complete other styles like indie and whatever, when you go back to deathcore, probably you have a new perspective on it.
Well, it was
Probably.
easy in a way this time, because when I stopped, a lot of the last Executioner stuff that I was writing was like super technical. I was finally getting better guitar skills, and and programming drums and things like that. So I was starting to write some pretty crazy stuff. And now with the whole revival sound and things like that, everything's just like so meat and potatoes, you know, slam riff, tremolo riff, slam. So I was like, dude, yes, I don't have to like try to write something so crazy now and technical and sweet picking and all this. Like, dude, I'm just gonna write meat and potatoes riffs, and it made it a lot easier to pick it back up again with that in mind, you know?
Yeah. Keep it
and
simple.
The technical
works.
stuff's cool. I love the crazy stuff. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes the most simple shit, dude, it's where it's at, you know?
We're talking about recording and stuff and kind of getting back into it. You re-recorded the songs off of the three songs from the band. So I'd be curious about your idea going into that and how that process was. Obviously for you as a vocalist specifically, it's like voice also changes a lot, I guess, over time. And even just from back then, even the vocals you were doing just a few years later were already so far ahead and so different. So how was it revisiting that and maybe, I guess, a bit of the why? And yeah, I'd be curious to hear you talk on that a little bit.
It was just the Blind song I recorded. I was stoked to revisit it because I feel like the imprint I have of those three songs, like, sure, they were cool, but like, you know, I was like 13, my voice wasn't even developed. So I was like, all right, now's a chance to show people how far my vocals have progressed in the last 10-ish years. And why it happened, why I re-recorded that song was, you know, unfortunately, Eric passed away around 2020, I think it was, our drummer. And I was just like, you know what, as like an homage type deal, just sit in my bedroom. I was like, I'm going to re-record the song, you know, it's like a whatever, pay some kind of respect type deal, you know.
Yeah, it was a cool thing to do. I think it was a cool thing to do.
You sound great on the song for what it's worth too, and it's cool. It's cool to see the difference, I guess, like the growth in between, right? And to kind of, I think
that's just puberty. Puberty.
Do you remember if vocally you had like clear inspiration, or it was kind of a mix of what you like? You know, like, do you have people in mind, you know, in terms of like vocalists who were just like, that's my inspiration?
One of my biggest ones was Timmy from Rose Funeral. You know, that sound he had on the Resting Sonata was like wicked. And then that first Infinite Annihilator record came out and I was like, holy shit. So it was just like a blend of so many vocal styles, you know. I tried to jam as many different styles into that remake as I could, you know. But it's tough now. There's like so many different styles of extreme vocals now. It's hard to keep up, you know. We got like the whole tunnel throat wave thing going on and the zombie vocals and whatnot. You know, it's like, it's come such a long way, you know.
It's kind of, that's one of those things though. I think a lot of people, regardless if they're due to vocals or not, I think a lot of people kind of feel intimidated by that. Like, oh, like feeling like maybe you have to do everything, you know, or oh, this is where vocalists are at now and you kind of got to do that. But for what it's worth, I think some of the more interesting stuff that's come out in recent years has been bands with vocalists that are not doing that style and just have their own thing or an old school style, and they just stick to that, and that's cool too, right? Because I think looking back at like a lot of like the covers and the stuff you were doing back in the day, it was a lot of, you know, to kind of goes in tandem, I guess, with the style of music that you were kind of going for. I guess you were talking about stuff that was more technical, you know, but the kind of like fast-paced Australia deathcore, the Signal the Firing Squad and stuff like that versus Crown and that sort of stuff. But that they had like pretty specific, like a low tone of vocals for those projects specifically, which I felt like you had back in the day. And that to me is like more exciting than the vocal Olympics that are going on now. Right. So sometimes it's definitely just,
that's how I like learned to expand my range, was like, I get fixated on a band and I try to just nail like their specific tone, which is a really cool thing to like try and learn, because you know, sure, some vocalists might sound similar, but some just sound the way they do because that's just their voice, you know. So I'd sit in my bedroom and just try and like, how can I match this guy's natural speaking voice in a scream or whatever as best as I can. you know.
And you end up sounding like yourself, right? Like because it's going to be your
Ultimately,
version type
yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's me, your version or their version or whatever. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm.
Which
So
is
what's cool is you know, again, the whole revival thing, you know, I even felt that pressure that I need to learn the tunnel throats and the zombie screams. Like I felt like I needed to keep up and, you know, but now with the new stuff that's coming out nowadays, you know, keeping it simple too is also just as cool. So
keeps a contrast too, I feel like, right? Because like if as much as it's impressive when you have like when you can do every single spectrum of sound or whatever, at the same time, to me, you lose the amazing contrast of just like a super low and then a super high or whatever, or even like just like he was saying, like the low tone type thing. Like if you're all over the place, to me, it's kind of, it creates kind of a line type thing. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a mixed bag of everything. So like
yeah,
the uniqueness of it is kind of, you're kind of losing that personality type thing is what I always felt like. And when you see the revival, it's more of just pure rawness of people just like doing what they want on the song, as opposed to I got to show every possible sound that I can make type thing,
yeah.
right?
You know, a lot of bands are doing like inhales again now, which is pretty cool to see. Never thought I'd see the day. I mean, you yourself, you're hitting the inhales over there, and they sound killer, dude. You know.
Thanks, dude. I am getting, I'll be honest, a lot of a lot of people are not agreeing with it, but I'm okay with
Yeah,
that, you know.
yeah,
I
that was
wanted
always
to,
a thing.
but I knew it, right? Like you cannot do something like that and expect everybody to just be like, "Oh, wow." Like for sure you do something like that, and most of the songs I'm making are super ridiculous, waking a cadaver type thing or whatever. But it's cool to see that now. Back in the days, it was just a big no-no. It was just like, don't do
It
that type
was.
thing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We were probably in the entire world, like 20 people being like, oh, that's pretty cool. The entire world just like, don't do that. Nowadays, you even see bands like Snuff on Sight. And maybe, I would say maybe more in the slam scene, it's maybe more present. But to see just people actually liking it is a bit refreshing. Back in the days,
Yeah.
it was just every single video, don't do that, don't do this. Every place is on Reddit, don't do it. I fully remember it changed a bit. Changed a
I
bit.
mean, yeah, if it sounds good, it sounds good, you know? It's like the same argument with like, oh, that drummer is using triggers and like when I started doing my own stuff, all the drums were programmed, you know, and that was another thing too. It was like, oh, he's programming all the damn drums. You can't play that in real life, this and that. So it's like, I don't know. To me, if it sounds good, it sounds good, dude. You know, that's the way
Well,
I look at it.
it's all about intent too. Like it's, you know, you were doing it as a solo project. You were never going to play the drums live, even if you did play live. Like that
No,
wouldn't have been you, right? So,
it's not
so it's
possible.
kind of
No.
irrelevant, regardless. Like that's kind of like a non
Mhm.
argument. But I'm curious, actually. Like, did you? Is it something that you wanted to do with Executioner back in the day? Kind of play shows and do more with it, or was it always kind of intended as a solo thing?
A bit of both. I really wanted to because I love playing shows, you know, and it's just something that never happened. Something I would totally be open to doing again, you know, but mainly it was just I just wanted to have stuff out there. So just sit in my bedroom and crack at it, you know.
Were you a guitar player like prior? Were you kind of because it is pretty, you know, it's one thing to know vocals and then be able to record yourself and stuff, but then also play guitar, program drums. Like it's a lot of different skill sets, right?
I messed around with drums a lot when I was a kid. But no, I never played guitar before that. I learned just kind of by trying to write songs, you know.
Not everybody can do that. Just want to say that. And I was one of the people who couldn't back then, so I fully know. But you know, you hear that, and people are just like, "Oh, that's cool." But like songwriting and putting yourself in the position of every instrument is something, especially at the age that you were, even in the beginning of Executioner, you were not old. You know what I mean? Still young. I don't remember exactly, but it was like right after Breed by the Ocean, right?
Yeah, it was actually
So
directly after, probably like towards the end of it. Yeah.
there you go. So it's still impressive, I think.
You know, some people I think like they listen to a song and they listen to like just the vocals, or some people like instrumentals more. I've always just tried to soak in everything when I listen to music, you know, I love every part the same. So like trying to learn to play drums, guitar, this and that. It was just like, just took all the information from listening to shit and tried to figure it out, you know?
Cool,
Cool,
it's cool.
man.
I think for what it's worth too, and you kind of see this a lot in you know, this kind of new era now of people being able to record themselves. But I think recording yourself is probably the best way to learn and to like
Yeah.
actually learn how to play your guitar, but you have to end up playing it clean enough at least for it to sound okay on recording, right? Whereas if you're just kind of like aimlessly playing when you first pick up a guitar, it's like there's like
It's
less of an
completely
intent
different,
behind it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and I think a lot of these, for lack of a better word, like bedroom recording guitarists and vocalists for that matter, you know, get way better. We see so many of the vocalists that are fucking amazing at what they do. They all have a home setup. They all record what they do, and you can tell that's how they end up honing in on different sounds and you know, experimenting with stuff
For
and
sure.
kind of expanding their range and stuff. So it's, you know, you were talking about going after like specific sounds with your vocals and stuff like that. Was that something like you would do? I know you know you did a few covers and stuff online, but was that kind of the way you were practicing, or were you practicing like, it wouldn't have been in the car at that age? It was like before that. Where
No,
were you
yeah,
practicing this stuff?
yeah, it was, you know, trying to make covers, just screaming in my bedroom, just sitting there playing through a song and just screaming, looking in the mirror with the mic, like trying to look cool and shit, you know, like a young kid at that age would do. But a lot of it was recording. That's how I figured out everything. And that's still my process now, whether it's the indie, metal, this, that, whatever I do. Like I can't just like sit down and write a song and be like, okay, that's the song. Like I write the song as I make it on the computer. Like that's my process. And I feel like a lot of these one man type deals, people at home making their own music is the same way, you know?
Yeah, part by part. It's not like you're making an entire song and jamming it and then going to record it. It's just like,
no, it's always coming up with it as I'm recording it. Yeah.
It's cool because now you can look back and you can kind of see your progression over the years, right? Like all those songs are still, so for you probably see all the way, like your progression, because you were as much learning to record as you were learning each kind of, you know, vocals and like getting better at guitar, programming drums as well. So like I'm sure for you, if you go back to your first songs and you look at where you're now, you're probably oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost embarrassed by some of it, but yeah. Yeah.
You said you had like a lot of recordings still from back in the day. Like you still have most of it?
Oh yeah. Still have all of it on this external drive right here. I have everything. I've never lost anything over the years.
Okay. And then is there vocals on a lot of it, or is it mostly instrumental? What's that material looking like?
Mixed bag. A lot of it's instrumental. There's a good amount of vocals on some of it, you know. So bit of both.
I don't know, man. It'd be like one of those things I'd be curious to see. Like you have been seeing some bands kind of going back into the archives and just like for the fuck of it releasing like a compilation of a bunch of old shit, like without even like retracking it or anything like that, like as it was, because at the same time that's what the vibe was. Like it's a capsule in time, right? And to me it's like, oh, it's sitting on a hard drive, you know. I'm sure some people would at least be interested in what it sounds like, you know.
I think you're right, dude. I think you're definitely right. Like just fuck it, release it how it is, because a part of the reason why I never did was because I wanted them to be finished, you know. Like I wanted it to be 100%, and it just kind of got overwhelming with how much shit I had that I never put any of it out. So maybe one day I'll just, here it is as it is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like some sort of it can even just be like a Bandcamp thing, you know, or I mean, it can go up on streamers and stuff too. But I mean, I think there's value in those types of compilations and stuff. We're seeing even some bigger bands do like, you know, they'll put out like their first EP that was out on a label, and it's got extra tracks on it that are like demo versions of those same songs and unreleased songs and stuff. I've always thought that sort of stuff is cool, just because it's, I don't know, it's like extra lore. It's like extra, again, like it's a moment in time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Elijah just did that with that re-release of Masochist. That was awesome.
Yeah, they
Like a
had a
bunch of
few extra
bonuses and stuff
demo,
on
like
there.
bonus songs on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And it did very well too, right? Like all
it
those
did.
bands doing
Yeah,
that, it's like people are here for it. Like it's not even just doing well, it's doing like crazy well.
really
We're
good.
talking like
Yeah,
in minutes, everything is sold out type thing. It's
yeah. I
insane.
saw that pop up. I was like, I gotta grab a couple shirts and shit. I had the "You Make Me Fucking Sick" shirt back in the day. Got
Yes.
kicked out of the mall and shit for wearing that. Yeah, I saw them do that. I was like, dude, I'm hopping on this drop right now.
Especially
Yeah.
with those legendary bands that were kind of a mythical, just they were there for a little bit, then
Yeah.
they just like big impact, leave
Those are
type
my
thing.
favorite kind of bands, dude. That was like a hobby of mine, was finding those bands, sitting on those like blog spot websites and just hunting
yeah.
all night long and trying to find a fucking Pirate Bay download or a torrent for it or a what was it, Mediafire, like just
Media fire.
digging through shit all
Someone-
night long.
Someone
Yeah.
sent me a Mediafire link like
Yo.
2 days ago. I
No
was like,
way.
no way.
They still
Is
got
that
them.
still working?
They still
Is it
got
still
'em, no
working?
shit.
What?
I mean,
Wow.
most
thought
of
it
the
was
shit doesn't
gone.
work, but I don't know if it's I think the person like just still uses Mediafire
That's
today and uploaded
crazy.
the thing that they wanted to send me on Mediafire. It wasn't like an old file that was still around, but I just still
Still.
found that
Dude, you
crazy.
got,
I was like,
like,
I haven't
Google
downloaded something
Drive.
from it's like I haven't downloaded something from that website in fucking 15
Wow.
years minimum.
Dude,
That's funny. That's hilarious.
insane, man.
Maybe
Wow.
maybe
I
it's
thought it was
got-
gone.
Yeah, I mean maybe it's making a comeback. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That
still-
was like my favorite thing to do, was just finding those. And for me, it was like the more underground and deep cut niche it is, like I gotta download that in my iTunes. I gotta have the whole catalog, like I love that.
Dude,
You're-
I still have my iTunes. I still have all my old digital files from
Same.
downloading shit in that
Mhm.
way, and then a big portion of it was in iTunes, like renaming shit and putting the
Yeah.
right metadata for shit because it
Dude,
was
yeah, I did the
obviously
same.
always all scuffed,
Yeah, it was
But
all
I'm-
stuff. I downloaded the logo off Google. I had to have the artwork, everything,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, but the sad part is I still use I use Apple Music only because I can still integrate it with iTunes, and still it's not the same iTunes library from back in the day, but I did like dump all my old files into iTunes, but it's a
Yeah.
fucking nightmare to use iTunes on PC in 2025. It is the worst.
Oh, really? I would have
Yes.
known. Damn.
Oh,
Not built
dude.
for that.
Not built for
I
it,
can
man. It's a
understand that though,
fucking
wanting it
nightmare.
all there, having it
Yeah,
all
well-
in one spot.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like for me personally, it's the only way I found to have my digital files on my iPhone like within the library of what I'm listening to. So like I can actually listen to it with the rest of my shit on shuffle that comes from Apple Music, the same way like
True.
you just press shuffle on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah,
And you can't do
yeah.
it in Spotify. In like an
I
easy
get what
way,
you're
I think.
saying.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of like, so there's a bunch of albums that you just can't, they're just not on Spotify. They're not
They're
on
not.
Apple Music. So it's like, you got to find some way of, some of that niche stuff is maybe made its way to Bandcamp, but it's like, it's not like I'm listening to all my music on Bandcamp. So I'd have to like
Yeah.
specifically want to listen to that one album, open Bandcamp, and then go listen to, fuck it. I just end
Yeah,
up not
fuck it.
listening to that music. So, but it's,
Yeah,
it's made me have to still deal with iTunes, which is not the greatest experience, but hey, you do what you got to do.
I just found my iPod Classic in a drawer the other day. I
was
plugged
so
it into my
cool,
car and I was
too.
like, dude, there's so many bangers on here. They're not on Spotify. Shit that's just so like
What hit you?
blogspot era niche.
What
you know?
hit you the most? What was like something you saw on your iPod that you were like, oh shit, I forgot about this.
On the iPod, there was one band that was on the iPod actually that was like, I forgot about this. And I remember a couple years ago, I tried to see if it was on Spotify and it fucking wasn't. I think it was a band called Continent. Miscreation was the record.
Okay.
Just fucking heavy ass, just straight to the point deathcore. It was good shit. And I'm like,
Continent.
yeah,
I remember,
Continent.
isn't it? It's a band that if the band we're talking about in Toronto, I made their logo back then, and I
No
sent,
shit, really?
yep, made their
That's funny.
logo.
Band, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
that
fucking
popped
around
up.
with logos and shit, and I was just I didn't know them, but I was just like, hey guys, I made a logo. They're like, we're using it. I'm like, yes, you know, it was a cool band. I liked it too.
Yeah, there was some heavy stuff. There was so many other just absolute bangers on that iPod that again they just didn't make their way to streaming services. And for a while, I wasn't like, I'm not getting Spotify. I don't need Apple Music because like all the shit I would listen to was downloaded from torrents and sites like that, and I would just still walk around my iPod or plug the aux in the car with the iPod. You know.
I miss that, by the way. I know it would be completely irrelevant to have an iPod now with the phones that we have, but how clean was that? Like, I'm talking about the
Yeah.
classic one.
Everything was
Like,
in one place. That's exactly what I got. The classic 128 gig, you know, everything was all there. Just my music's in one device.
It
You
was
know?
cool too. You know, it was the first time we had something cool because prior to that, let's be honest, like a Discman, like everything we had, it was always kind of just weird to have. But like first time I had an iPod, I was like, that's so sick with the little.
Dude, I was like obsessed with the iPod when I was like 8 or 9, and like the first Nano came out. I was like, oh my God, I need that. I need the Nano, you know, like showing up to school the next day, like, yeah, I got the Nano. You know, it was awesome.
And
I
we
always
all
loved the
remember the
iPods.
shuffle coming out and being
Yeah.
flabbergasted by the fact that it had no screen.
That abomination, yeah. Yeah, and then they made like the cube shuffle. What the hell is that? Need the screen. Where's the screen?
Where's the screen, man? You literally could only just press play and it was on shuffle, and that's it.
Yeah, it was crazy work.
Yeah, it's dude. We had some crazy shit because I mean before that it was like before the iPods we still had like MP3s and stuff, but it was like the biggest fucking SD card you could fit into one would maybe fit like 20 songs. You know, it was barely, you couldn't fit 2 CDs on
A
it.
gig or
So it was
two.
like barely better than having a CD player. I was like, and especially at that point, like CDs themselves, if you were burning CDs, you'd be able to put more than that many songs on it. Like the only advantage was the fact that like you could shake it and it wouldn't make it skip, you know?
True.
Yeah.
The only thing really. So skateboarding, it was not
perfect,
convenient to have a CD player, but you know.
Yeah, perfect to have the iPod or the MP3 player. Yeah. I had a couple of those in between the iPods, just like the random Samsung tiny little MP3 players with the LCDs. Yeah, I definitely got one in the drawer there. 100% do.
Interesting era for sure. Like we kind of witnessed like the evolution of all these things, right? Like it was like the beginning of everything. Like we were talking about MySpace, it was the beginning of it. We saw like even internet, I mean even gaming, you know what I mean, like RuneScape, all these things. We just witnessed all the beginning of it. It's pretty cool.
All the shitty versions of all these things.
Yes. Yeah.
Xbox
LimeWire
Live,
and then killing your
AOL.
computer.
Yeah, LimeWire, killing your computer. Yep, classic. I remember back in the day when you would download shit on LimeWire, depending on what it is, like sometimes you get like a notice in the mail, you know? I'll never forget, like my mom was using the computer and she was using LimeWire. We got one for like, you illegally downloaded a fucking Kid Rock record. Like, you know, we're going to sue you or something like that. Like you got to be careful just downloading shit too.
I think those were relatively rare, though. I've never heard of someone who actually got one of those letters. It was all over the headlines, but someone who actually got the letters, I've never actually heard of that. It was kind of it seemed like more of a media like scare more than anything else at the time, you know? But
probably, yeah.
That's crazy. You guys actually got a letter, though.
Yeah, I still remember just the letter itself. It was a Kid Rock record. I was like, Mom, what did you do?
It's insane. It's crazy to think about because like back in the days, it was so kind of, you know, like even movies, right? You would start a movie, it would be like 200,000 fees, like all those crazy things. Like if you copied movie things and with the music, it was insane. And
the FBI warning at the beginning
yeah,
of the movies. Yeah.
Like,
it's made
for
all
a
official
movie,
FBI. Like, come on, dude.
We're talking about a movie. Like the SWAT is gonna drop. Like, and it's like look in the world that we're in now. You know what I mean? Like it's only streaming everywhere, basically. So it's so
easy now. There were so many deep cuts that I had to like break out the old YouTube to MP3. Like, how am I going to get this MP3 file? Just like so much. If it was something like so deep and I couldn't like get it. Like I'll take out again the video camera. I'll put the video camera up to my computer speakers, record the audio, sounds like shit. Then I'll rip the audio from this video that I just recorded. Like, any way to get the download, to get the file and put it in iTunes.
Possible. Yeah.
Any means, yeah.
I had like the small app to fucking rip songs off of MySpace, but it's listening to those now that you realize, dude, the bit rate on MySpace audio was so dog shit,
bad.
dude.
Yeah.
So
bad.
it's funny because like we talk about like the raw production and stuff of like the deathcore from back in the day, but there was definitely nothing helping the bands with the quality of the of the uploads. Ultimately,
You can't blame them. Can't blame them though.
I think like even a good recording kind of sounded like shit, but like just through the MySpace player, So
Yeah,
kind of funny to listen back to now.
sure.
No, for sure. I earlier I wanted to ask because you mentioned it was one of your favorite thing going on blogs and like finding bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember when when your music kind of blew up, right? Like with Beer the Ocean and like kind of made an impact. Do you remember talking with some of the bands that you like, having like cool interaction during that era? Do you recall something like that happening?
Not really like how that happens now. Now I'll get some message and like, holy shit, like, dude, I listen to you guys. It was mainly just like talking with local bands in the local scene around here at the time. I didn't really get much from other artists besides Sworn In trying to sue me.
Well, that counts. So
yeah,
maybe not the most positive interaction.
No, it wasn't really like that. It was just like with all the local bands and stuff, we would, I get reactions from them and feedback from them and shit, at Rest, Float Face, a band from around here called Aborted Memory. They were fucking awesome. Love them. All those dudes would, cheer me on, cheer us on, whatever.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's the thing with MySpace. You never knew. You know what I mean? You could get like a random message from freaking Imure and you're just like, what's happening? Like it was the beginning of just like being able to reach people, because prior to that there was no way.
What set it off, I think, honestly, what made that whole project blow up, besides us being kids and shit, was Metal Sucks. Was that Metal Sucks? Fucking Metal Sucks article, dude. Was that goddamn article. They just tore us to shreds. And that's like a legitimate like metal publishing news page or whatever. It was when they made that post. I don't know how they found it, who sent it to them, and they just shit all over us. And I think that's what gained all the traction and got people's eyes on us, was that Metal Sucks page.
But I mean, it's we often talk about this, but it's kind of like ultimately that made you guys more popular. Right, like it wasn't because we talk about the fact that the article was like kind of shitting on you guys, but at the same time it was kind of like, to be fair, they were shitting on any deathcore band anyways on that website specifically.
Yes,
but,
of course.
But on top of that, but it's kind of like ultimately like, it's linked to your MySpace page and people are gonna at least be curious and want to check it out. And that was kind of like an early era of things going viral, for what it's worth, So. So yeah, I was kind of curious in that same breath, like if that, like what the difference was like online, like that sort of thing, like online versus like IRL. Like were people in person? Like did the other local bands know about that article and see the article, and that's the sort of thing they were talking to you guys about, and thought you guys were cool because you guys were on Metal Sucks or had more views on the MySpace or whatever, stuff like that?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Whether it may have not been a good or bad thing, they definitely were like, that's cool. You guys are on there, whether or not it's them talking shit, like you made it somewhere, I guess. So,
I mean, I'm sure the impact is more positive than negative ultimately. Like, I don't think it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think like the end result of that is more people just shitting on you guys and not gaining any fans from it and just being a laughing stock. Like I think it brought a lot of eyes to you guys, people like Dan and I, to discover the music, There
was more people in the comments on that Metal Sucks page that were like, defending it than they were agreeing with the post, I guess.
Yeah.
So no, it
Yeah.
didn't really bring more negativity, I guess.
I remember thinking, because because even honestly, even on Facebook, I remember people that I knew sharing just the picture. They don't even know the music, whatever, and they just talk about, the ears and when people were talking about the music and kind of trying to tear it apart, like, oh, it's deathcore, whatever, I was like, what is your problem? Like, they're kids and they manage to release full songs. It's actually sick, you know what I mean? Like, I remember thinking we should encourage that. We should like push that. Like, they're kids that want to do music, and people were just like, it's not. I remember seeing comments like, it's not metal, it's not, it's easy riff. I'm like, what were you doing at 13 years? Like, what did you?
I mean, that's exactly what it was. If you listen to it, it sounds like a bunch of 13-year-olds playing deathcore, but you did have a lot of that. Like, I gave my buddies the Faceless and Black Dahlia shirt, and like, they have the nerve to wear the Faceless. They're a crazy technical fucking band. Of course, the Faceless rips, and you listen to our shit, and it's like, 5 breakdowns in a minute and a half, and it's like, whatever, dude. We're just doing what we like. We're just trying to do something. We're 13,
Like, if you have to earn to wear a band shirt, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to earn it. Can you play? You play
one Faceless song? Yeah.
It's not name 3 songs. It's play 3 songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you as good as the band that you're wearing the shirt? If not,
Pretty much.
Cannot.
You can't wear it then. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
that's so good. Yeah.
Look, for what it's worth though, like, even I posted the infamous photo to Instagram today, and that shit's got way more interactions than any other thing that we regularly
I can't
post.
believe
So even today,
I cannot believe
it still
it.
slaps, so
the now meme photo. Yeah. I can't believe it. It's wild to me, but it's at the same time, it's like, it's inspiring. It's cool. Like, I gotta chip away at this more. I gotta drop some of these old projects I have and just put out some more stuff. Yeah. It's relighting that flame for me,
Yeah, I think people would even, like, I don't know if you have, any videos of you maybe recording stuff like that, but this kind of content, you'd be surprised how well it does. You know what I mean? Like, you see that sometimes, right? Like,
a couple people found me and my buddy's old, like, stupid little blog YouTube thing we have, and they're like, and they're sending me videos and shit from it, and they're like, yo, what shoes you wearing in this video? I'm like, what the fuck? Really? God, can we delete those, please? Like, what? Still up? Yeah, it's like a thing now for sure.
No, it's definitely cool, dude. You had, like, literally, you had a moment in deathcore. That's cool if you think about it. And sometimes it
can't wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around it. Yeah, no, I personally don't feel like I do. I know I might be hard on myself at times with shit. I'm like, I don't think we were worthy enough for that. And in my eyes, they'll never be that way. But to hear that is super awesome to me. Really cool.
Think about it, dude. Like, I was talking about that earlier, but like, when I was to start my channel, I was just like, that's the first, somehow it's just like, that's the story I want to tell. Like, people, like, we just mentioned the picture, right? We posed the picture and stuff like that. To me,
as people remembering too, right? Like, a shit ton of the comments are like, oh, that's a deep cut. Oh shit. Like, it's not just like people liking it because it's a meme. It's like, because people remember the moment, right? Like, it's It's more than just like, oh, they're like looking at it now for the first time type thing.
And not to throw numbers or anything, but like, right now in the stream, people showed up, dude, to like hear, like, honestly, like, it's not like, if we compare to, like, it always depends on many things, but still, we had a lot of messages of people just like, I want to know what happened and stuff like that. So to me, it's proving that you had a moment, and you know what I mean? Like, it's the complete proof that it was an actual moment because people care. And I don't remember what year, but I mean, we're talking freaking, not to say we're old, but like, it's
15 years almost. Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. It makes me feel good inside for sure. It's really cool. really cool. Again, I don't feel like any of it was worthy or like I don't know. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I just fail to believe it sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to. It doesn't. I mean, how do I put this? Like, it's not. It's not meant to change anything. It's not meant to even make you feel anything at all necessarily. It's just, to me, I kind of just see it more like factually, it was a moment in time and it happened. And there was something around it, and you bring it up today, 13, 14, 15 years later, and people still know what we're talking about. Dude, I mean, I'd show a random picture or put up a random song of this band that nobody ever cared about. No one would know about it, right? No one, so there's something to be said about the fact that people are still fucking with
still remember it. Yeah. Still remembering it is awesome. Yeah. Those are some of my favorite comments. Like, holy shit. I remember that. I'm like, what?
And again, the video did well, but like I kind of used that same, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of those clicks were just people remember, this time, and they're just like, oh, I want to know about that. Right. So I think the video helped a lot too, for sure. It added to it. Probably, but like, it's blowing my mind, dude. Like because I just didn't realize that it was doing so well, and I was just like, what? I remember I sent it to Dom, and I was just like, dude, what is like happening right now? And
it like 10x'd overnight, which is kind of fucking insane.
It's crazy, but like I was just happy because like I knew you wanted to release some stuff, so I was like, that's good, because like when he's gonna be releasing music or anything, it's just gonna kind of draw people's attention.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We got people asking here. We do have to talk about you. You mentioned it at the top of the show, but the little dude not wearing shoes.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
And then what was he forgot to put shoes on that day?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I had my older friend come over with his camera to take some promo shots and shit. And remember, he showed up, and I'm just like, all right, let's go, come on. And he just jumped out of the house, just didn't put his shoes on, and that was it. And it was literally also too right in his backyard, because we would practice at his house. So where that photo was taken, we just fucking walked through the backyard right onto this little trail right behind the house and took it right there. So I guess he felt like he didn't even need to put them on.
He was at ease. He was at home. He did this shit all the time, no shoes.
Yeah. Yep. With the hood up.
With the hood up, yeah.
Let's be honest too. He didn't know that picture would be that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, for him, it was just like, we're taking a picture right now. It was just kind of a casual, oh, let's take a picture. Like, nobody knew like that it would do that, and that picture would be everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm. The other thing, I guess, we're harping on this photo, but it's got to be done. I'm sorry. Your parents didn't know about your stretched ears?
At first they didn't. Yeah, at first they didn't, because
I understand the hair argument, but
yeah, it was the scene hair. I had the crazy scene hair. And I would hide it underneath there until it started to get, obviously, like closer to an inch. I'd say it was like, you can't hide that, But at first I did hide it. Yeah.
Well, you're always putting a hoodie on inside, or
a hood on, like, a hat, keep the hair.
Avoiding your parents. Yeah, avoiding
her, coming home from school, like, all right, Mom, what's up? Straight to my bedroom. Like, yeah. Yep.
He's got the big ass headphones on all the time. Like,
yeah, always. That's flashing me back to like just moments of like, what the fuck's that in your ear? Oh, it's nothing. Like shit like that. Like I did hide it. Yeah.
Technically, it's true. You say it's nothing. It's a hole. So technically, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. There was a lot of people, like on that Metal Sucks page too, like, what kind of parent would allow this? Blah, blah, blah. His parents must be fucked up. Like, dude, they had nothing to do with it. That was just me being a asshole kid, They had nothing to do. They did have a say ultimately, but I kept doing it. Like, I was the problem. I was like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to keep stretching them, when they did find out,
Yeah.
So funny how people assume everything, though, right?
Yeah.
Like they're literally having a conversation about parents without knowing like a single, like nothing. Like, they know nothing about it, and they're talking about like, oh, those parents, generation, things change. Like, what are you like? What?
Yeah. She must be horrible.
Yeah,
My mom's great. She's a wonderful woman. It was
I
all
think
me.
it's my part of it is my fault. If I'm honest, I'm going to take a part of the blame because the way I said it in the video, honestly, sounded like you were able to hide it when they were at like 2
I
inches.
think so. Yeah, I think a lot of people from that video, they thought that like
Yes.
it was always hidden. Like I'd always hide it. No.
Thanks to my English and my storytelling skills, when I started, I really made it, for what it's worth, it made a lot of comments, but I remember people just saying, it's impossible. Like in the comments, it's impossible. And I was like, what are you talking about? I talked to him. And there's like, oh, it's bullshit. But I rewatched and I was like, oh crap. The way I'm saying it sounds like he hid the entire time and they never knew. Like that's that's, you know.
And when they got to over an inch, there's no hiding that. You know?
Well,
Yeah, there's no hiding that.
even with long
at
hair.
a certain point, they flip
Yeah,
out. You know?
I think when I went past like 2 inches, I was getting closer to 3 inches. Them shits just started doing this. Like they were just flipping out. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gone. And then you shave your head. I mean, that's for parents. If there's one haircut, by the way, that parents just don't like in general is when you shave your head, right? Like as a teenager. In the parents' eyes, it's like you're this close to be with bad people and do some bad things somehow, like being shaved, right? But not only did you do that, but yeah, you know what I mean? And you scream. So your parents were probably like, what is actually happening?
Yeah, I'm sorry, mom and dad, for all the shit I put y'all through. It was me, dude. I was the problem. All those comments, it was not them. It was not them.
Were they happy when got rid of the gauges?
Oh, towards the end of it, it was like the same deal. Like I just they were so big, obviously I would just wrap them around the top of the ear. And I got sick of people bothering me, so I just took them out and I wrapped them around. I remember the day came finally. My dad said to me, he's like, you know, we had like a plastic surgeon or whatever that my family go to. He's like, why don't I take you to him? And we just fucking get rid of him. I'll take care of it. I'll pay for it. This and that. I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. Like I've already been out for a year, just wrapped around my head. Let's do it. You know? So that day came and I got surgery, you know, and they're gone now.
Sure, they didn't mind paying for it. They're like, we're taking care of it. All good.
I think it was homeboy's first time doing a surgery like that too. And it was like a family discount. So it was like,
right.
Yeah, like let's just do it.
Everybody was winning in that scenario. Yeah,
everyone was winning. Yeah, and I was like, sweet, like I'm finally gonna get them gone. I was excited for it. You know, had my ears folded around the top of my ear all the time. It was getting like ridiculous. There was many other reasons.
Yeah, surgeons got the. Oh yeah, it's probably like it must have been just
almost 3 inches. I gotta take them out. I'm trying to get them in the next morning because they shrunk a little bit. I was like, dude, over this. Yeah.
The surgeon was adding to his portfolio. Your dad was getting a discount.
That's what it was. He was stoked to have that.
Your ears, so everyone was happy.
Everyone won. Yep.
Dude, I'd love to maybe land this with what you've got coming and kind of Executioner as a whole. I mean, we kind of touched on you getting back into releasing some music and talking about the old stuff and all that, but what have you been kind of toying around with? I mean, obviously you put out the single, was it early this week or last week? It's been a few days.
I think it was last week. I think it was last week. Yeah.
So how's that been going? And what are you kind of thinking of doing with the Executioner for the time being? What's the plans there?
I think the plan is to maybe put together like a 5-song EP, something like that. I have files and files of shit, so get like some kind of actual project, especially like after doing something like this with you guys and shit, I can be like, all right, there's this too now. And, definitely getting like a little project out for sure. And, I'm never going to stop. This is something I've always been doing my whole life. I got files and files and files out the wazoo. So just getting it out. My problem is just physically getting it out. That's where I struggle, is like click and export, click and upload. So I'm going to try my best to get some more shit out.
You gotta hire someone just for that, just the export and
Should.
this upload.
I should, yeah. Yep.
The last few things I would personally just before we wrap this up is you shared a bit about, I thought it was cool that you went a lot into like motorcycles and stuff like that, right? Like
That's
you even
another reason probably that takes up a big part of my life. That's another reason I probably struggle to get shit out. Yeah. Cars and motorcycles.
Do you remember if it kind of started, back with like execution, when you started execution, like where is that time in your life started? Like
all around the same time, yeah. Yeah, started getting into like, bikes and cars and shit like that. So it's hard to juggle it all at the same time. And there were times where I was more into riding bikes, working on bikes, cars and shit than I was picking up a guitar, So it's hard to juggle that, but I, try my best now to put some more shit out.
Many passions kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta focus on music in the winter and then have the summer for the
Good
bikes.
Move.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Gotta switch modes and have something to alternate with.
For sure.
That's a really good idea. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is I wanted to say it's cool because you've been sharing about, nutrition, transformation, taking care of it. Like that's
another big part of my life now. Yeah.
Those things I love seeing that. And I think it's cool to talk about it and share about it. Cause like I know how you felt about sharing it. You always feel a little bit, when you talk about these things, it's just like, I don't put myself too much in the spotlight, but I think it's something cool to see. I just wanted to comment you on that. Cause like it requires discipline and it's a big game changer in terms of like energy, how you feel and all that.
Definitely so big change. Thanks, dude.
It was awesome that you did that.
Yeah. Like even when we did that video years ago, I'm sitting there with a beer in my hand on the couch. I'm just like, I can't live like this anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
was there like a switch? There was like a moment for you where you were kind of like, fuck it, I got to change something.
Yeah, I was stepped on a scale like almost 200 pounds a couple months ago. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I gotta stop sitting around drinking beers and treat myself like shit and eating candy every night. So I was trying to take care of myself a little bit better now. So glad you mentioned that. Thanks, dude.
No, I really wanted to because like it's the kind of things that people. Well, I think some people are talking about it, but like it's something that it's just you do for yourself and in your life. But sometimes it's just something you do and it's kind of gone. But like I love noticing these things because like it's important and it should be celebrated. You know what I mean? Like people love sharing that they drink and they party and they do their life, which is okay. I'm not saying it's bad. Like do what you want, but I'm just saying it should be celebrated also when you do good changes for yourself and you've got some results and stuff like that. It's just something I love. I love seeing. So
yeah, thanks, dude. It's definitely something I felt like sharing the other day. Came a long way in 4 months, lost 30 pounds, shit like that. So like, yeah, it feels good. I feel good. Things are great. I feel great. Hoping to get some more music out there and shit. I'm stoked for this new chapter of my life for sure.
Well, we'll support it, dude, for sure. You know what I mean? Like that's what we love seeing, and hopefully, with the podcast, with the video, with what we're doing right now and stuff like that. That's what we love, man. We love getting it. We love seeing comebacks like that and people that just getting back into it, and it's good. What you drop, honestly, like we talked about, it's sick, dude. Honestly, it's really, we mean it. It's good. So like, we're behind it.
It means a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Just to briefly add on to that, genuinely, it's cool shit. It sounds like 2010. I don't know how else to put it. Like it sounds like it's not exactly like 2005 deathcore, but there's like there was like that in middle between. Ground kind of before everything really went like beat down and or gent, there was like that in between. I think
that's what I was going for. That's exactly what I was trying to like.
I think nobody in the revival is really going for that sort of sound right now. So I think it's really cool. I really dig it because it stands out to me compared to everything else. And then the other like small thing is just, it's one thing to say like, oh, okay, I'll like write music again, whatever. And even though you were still playing playing music this whole time, like I feel like some of these comebacks have, and I don't want to shit on anyone specific, with some of these comebacks, you know, you hear the music and you're like, I didn't need this. You know, it doesn't, you know, they could have stayed in the past type of thing, which I don't feel like that with the new Executioner track. So
Sweet.
I'm very excited to see, you know, whatever else you come up with that.
Thanks,
Same.
man.
And coming from someone like, I fully remember when you stopped, you know, when Buried by, you know, and Dead High Rise was kind of finished and you were working on Executioner, it was also in the same period of time where we went from MySpace to Facebook. And I fully remember you had a page with Executioner on Facebook. I fully remember, and I was following that. And you were on SoundCloud, if my memory is correct.
Yeah, SoundCloud,
and I was listening. I thought it was I was just like,
that's
and
where all the music lives still, is on the SoundCloud. The old shit, the teasers, they're still all on the SoundCloud.
Which is great, you know. And I remember your first, because I think you changed your logo, right? Am I crazy? I think it was a different logo for. Okay.
Yeah.
I fully remember that, like big, you know. Logo,
dude, I didn't know
like
you
that.
were around since then. That's cool.
I was.
Thanks.
I really was.
Yeah.
I was obsessed. I still, for what it's worth, even the song Blind, I still think it's cool. Like, it's still in my mind.
The riff.
Yes.
The riff.
Yes. I always followed. So to me, I think anybody who liked what you did over the years, the new song you dropped, it really felt to me like just kind of a natural progression with all of that. That's kind of how I felt, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
For sure.
Of course, man. We'll have to keep in touch regardless.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
I'm going to, I'll let you get on with the rest of your night. But this was really enjoyable. This was really fun.
Oh, yeah.
This was awesome for me. This was awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me on here. Thank you.
It was fun,
man,
dude.
Of course, we love reminiscing and talking about quote unquote the good old days. So always a pleasure. But we'll keep in touch, and looking forward to everything you keep putting out. And we'll have a great night, my man.
Awesome. Thanks again. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Take care, dude. Thank you so much.
Later.
Take care, man.
If you made it to the end of this episode, thank you for watching. And hey, while you're here, hit that subscribe or follow button and a review. If you're watching or listening on a podcast platform, it would mean the world, and it helps out more than you know. A big thank you as well to all of our supporters over on Patreon and on Twitch. New episodes every week, links to our Patreon, Discord, and socials in the description. We'll see you soon. We're out.